everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alicia. I post new tutorials every Thursday and I try to get another one in on the weekend if I can. This has been quite a busy week for me because my daughter is on spring break, and so I took a staycation from work to hang out with her, and we've been really busy this week. We went to the zoo and we've been planting flowers, and we did our Easter eggs, so we dyed our Easter eggs. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to do this, and so now I am scrambling to get this video out to you today. So as I am doing this, I have my cup on its first coat of the last coat of epoxy, so I can try to get this out to you tomorrow morning. So this week I am working again with chunky glitter, but this time instead of putting it on with epoxy, I am putting it on with tacky glue. So I'm going to talk to you about the differences that I find between applying chunky glitter with epoxy as opposed to doing it with glue. I did do this cup a little bit differently in that I'm using 3 different chunky glitters, so it's a 3-step process because you're doing each section individually, so you can see what a pain in the butt that is. And so that is it for this intro, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and that bell button so you can get notified every time I post a new video. And let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I am starting with a 20-ounce skinny straight. I have prepped and sanded it and spray painted it as I always do. And so I'm doing something different this time. Normally I would spray paint each color that I'm using. And I decided I wanted to try the Dollar Tree glitter vinyl to put underneath my chunky vinyl because they pretty much match up with the colors. Normally, I would use DMI's fine version of the chunky glitters that I am using, but not all of you have all 6. You may have, only the chunky glitters and not the fine glitters. So I'm assuming, I'm just going to say, oh, you don't have the fine glitters, so you can use, this is an alternative. It's not my favorite alternative after doing this, but it's an alternative. And so, if you want to do it cheaply, this is how you can do it. So I'm applying this vinyl as I normally do by peeling it back and measuring it up, and I'm going to do the hinge method to apply it for this piece. So if you're familiar with this method, then I don't really need to walk you through it. If you're not familiar with this method, you cut a piece off, leave it on there, measure it up, take that piece off, put it down, and there you go. I put the piece back on. I guess I didn't like it. So I fiddle with vinyl a lot when I'm trying to put it on a cup, whether it be like this or whether I do vinyl stripes. I fiddle fart around with it for a while, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I do. Some people are just like it. I swear it looks like they do, like they lay it down the first time, it's like perfect. Yeah, not me. I fiddle with it, and I'm gonna show you that I'm fiddling with it. Because you know what, I'm not perfect, and if you are, then that's awesome, but I'm definitely not. So it's off by a hair, and I'm not really worried about that, and you'll see why later. And so now I'm coming in with my second, which is the rose gold, and I'm applying it the wet method. So you can apply vinyl using the wet method. A lot of people use Windex. I have this special solution that I'd gotten with stripes that I received, vinyl decal stripes, or vinyl stripes that I ordered for my car, racing stripes. That's it. And so that is specifically designed for vinyl. And so I sprayed the cup, and then you spray your vinyl piece, and I don't measure up. I just pull it off and, just keep putting it down until I get it right. So with this stuff, you can shift it. If you put enough on there, you can shift the vinyl around. It's a little bit harder when you're doing the stripes as I am, and they're pretty thick stripes. But you have to make sure that you get all of the solution out underneath by squeegeeing it out, which I didn't show you doing. So I am putting my last stripe on, which is my silver stripe, and I am just applying it without doing the wet method. I am just putting it on the cup. Again, I'm not real concerned about its perfection because I'm going to be putting stripes in the middle, and I am going to be glittering over top of these stripes, and I am going to be spray painting that bottom silver also. So I'm not concerned about ultra perfect. I mean, you want to get it close, but don't kill yourself. So that is it. That's pretty easy. You know, it's an easy alternative. So now I'm going to tape off that silver. And what I did with the painter's tape is I put it on my clothes so it's not ultra super sticky, because this vinyl is super thin, this vinyl paper as they call it, and I'm afraid that it'll pull it off the cup. So I did that to de-stick it, and then I take a piece of paper from a magazine that my mom has, wrapped it around to protect the rest of the cup, and then I spray painted it with metallic silver. So now I'm going to go ahead and peel that painter's tape off, and it should come off nice and easy because you kind of de-stickied it on your clothing and it didn't pull up the paper, vinyl, whatever. So I'm also trying this Tacky Glue. It's made by Aleene's, and if you're familiar with Aleene's, tack it over and over. It's a pretty good glue, and I really love it for the tack it method. And if you're not familiar with that, jump back on my channel. I have plenty of things I've done the tack it method. So I picked up this Tacky Glue at the Dollar Tree, and you can find it Walmart, Amazon, wherever. And I'm applying it using a thin, whatchamacallit? a fine bristled brush. Yes, that's it. Fine bristled brush that I got who knows where. And so this Tacky Glue is super thick. Like, holy cow, I wasn't expecting it to be that thick. So it's definitely much thicker than Mod Podge. And it is, you know, Mod Podge is really thin. And so this doesn't seem to dry as quick as Mod Podge. So I think you have a little bit more working time, which you need, because it takes a little bit more time to put it on because it is so thick. So I'm not real crazy about the thickness of it. So I will, we'll talk about what I'm going to do with that in a minute. So I'm just making sure that I follow my line here, and you know, I'm getting it nice and even, which seems to be easier than Mod Podge because of the thickness. So I didn't get the clumping that I normally get with Mod Podge. And here we go with my chunky glitter. So this is Gold Rush, and this is my favorite gold by Glitter Makes It. It's just such a great gold color. I don't know what it is about it, but it's my favorite, and I think it's one that you should add to your collection, as is this rose gold and this silver that they have. They're very, you know, your basic gold, silver, and rose gold, and so it's always great to have your basic colors in there. So after I get that glitter all on, I am going to roll it in the glitter and on the paper to kind of flatten it out. Push it down. I want to, you know, like I did with the other cup in the chunky glitter, I want to flatten this out because it's a pain if it's sticking up. So after I did that, I did 2 coats of Rust-Oleum's 2x Gloss Clear. Normally I would come in with Krylon Triple Thick, and I couldn't find it, so that's what I used as an alternative. Then I came in and I rolled it on the parchment paper to flatten it out even more. So like it wasn't completely dry, just to try to get it so that it's like sticky. So now I'm going to come in and do my rose gold. And so I did a squirt of water into that Tacky Glue to thin it out a little bit, and not a lot, but just enough so that it seemed to go on the cup easier, and it wasn't as thick and gave me, you know, not that it gave me problems, but it was thick, and so you had to like work it. So I just stirred it up with the end of my brush, and now I'm going in, and I did like thinning it out, so that was the consistency that I went in with when I did my silver as well. So I just did the stripe as I did the gold one, and, you know, just making sure that I follow the top and the bottom lines. And now I'm coming in with the Glitter Makes It Rose Gold after I go and grab some catch paper, because, you know, you want to make sure you catch your glitter and put it back in the bottle because you don't want to waste your glitter. It is, you know, it's a must. So here we go, getting this glitter on. I am doing full glitter dumps here. I am not holding back. I am just opening that cap up and getting it on there because I want to get the best coverage that I can get. And these chunky mixes do have finer cuts in there too. So they don't have super fine, but they do have finer cuts. So with the fine in the background, you don't need to come in with a fine. So, that's the whole idea of the glitter paper behind it. And so I rolled it on there, and to, smush it down again, there was a spot that I wasn't happy with, so I went in with the Tacky Glue and a little bit more of the glitter to fill in those spots because they just weren't high enough. They weren't close enough to the line between the gold and the rose gold. So I put that on, and then after I'm done this, I do 2 coats of the 2x Rust-Oleum's Gloss Clear again before I come in to do my silver. And make sure in between each coat you're cleaning off the bottom. So there was like some rose gold on the silver part, and I just brushed it off with a brush. So 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum, I rolled it on parchment paper, and now I'm coming in and I'm going to do my silver. And again, I thinned my glue out with just a squirt of water, and I like it a lot better. And I find it, wasn't any less sticky by doing that, doing the bottom as well. And I'm going to put fine glitter on the bottom. I do put the chunky, but then I fill in with some fine. I'm not really a big fan of putting chunky glitter on the bottom because then I feel like, I have a hard time flattening it out. So, I'm going to give it a go with this glue and see how it works out by smushing it. So this is Silver Surfer by Glitter Makes It. It is the perfect silver. Again, it is a chunky, but has finer cuts in there. So, with the silver, again, the silver glitter paper in the background, it works out really well. So I do put the chunky on the bottom, which, I wasn't happy about in the end, but it kind of went with it, so I kind of had to. So I'm going to roll it in that paper to smush it down, and then I'm going to give it the 2 coats again of the Rust-Oleum's 2x Gloss Clear. But then what I do is once that one is dry, I go in with, I found my Krylon, and I didn't show you all this, so that's why I'm telling you. I went and I gave it a good coat of the Krylon Triple Thick. And, here I am coming in with my silver to fill in some spots that didn't seem to, down at the bottom because there wasn't silver paper on the bottom. So I wanted to make sure I got full coverage. So then I went in with my Krylon Triple Thick, and I gave that a good spray. And then I went in here and I took parchment paper and I smushed it down the best I could. I still don't feel like with all of these coats of, Krylon and the Rust-Oleum's Gloss Clear and with the parchment paper, I still don't feel like I got a great smushing down. So I went in and I mixed up 30 mLs of epoxy, and because I want to do a nice thick coat because this is the chunky glitter. So I'm going to do one section at a time. So I do the gold, and then I go in and I get my middle section with my rose gold, just because I want to make sure that I'm not really mixing these colors, which they stay put, they're not really moving. But in case there was a little bit moving, which I didn't really have. And so now I'm just going to finish this bottom off. I'm going to do the same thing. So one section at a time. And then I go and I check the center, the seams, and make sure that I didn't go too light on the seams. And so when I put my epoxy on, I always do it with a gloved hand rather than a silicone brush because I can feel better if there are dry spots or if there are heavy spots. So that's why, I just do it with a glove. Now I'm just making sure that I'm wiping, any too much heaviness, although it will self-level. But again, I feel like I'm overworking the epoxy. I tell you guys all the time not to overwork your epoxy because you can create bubbles, but it's kind of hard when you're doing 3 sections. So now I'm coming in with my kitchen torch and just going back and forth really fast to pop any bubbles and micro bubbles. And then I'm going to let this turn for 2 to 4 hours because I'm using a quick set epoxy on this. Then I'm going to come in. Actually, I'm coming in after 2 hours and I'm going to put another coat of epoxy on it. And then I'm going to check on it and see if it needs, I'm going to come in with my sanding and then I'm going to see if it needs a 3rd coat. Because if I need to sand too heavy, I wind up coming in with a 3rd coat. All right, guys, so I have 2 coats of epoxy on this and I still have got a few pokies on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this rim, and I'm gonna sand this down. And if I have to do too much sanding, I'm gonna put another coat on. So I will let you guys know if it's too much. So, you know, this to me just, you know, reaffirms why I like applying glitter using the epoxy method. So I'm gonna head and clean this rim out. I'm not gonna sit here and show you guys because the whole thing, because I do this in a lot of my videos, and I also have a video that focuses just on cleaning the rims of the cup. So I'm just showing you how I'm doing. You know, this part I had a heavy piece, but it came right out. And then I'm gonna go ahead with my black sander, and I'm gonna go ahead and sand. The bottom has a lot of pokey edges. I've got a couple of sharp ones around here. I don't know if you can see that one sticking up. You see that? I gotta get that one down. So I'm gonna come back when this is all done, and I'll let you know if I'm putting another coat on or not. So I did a really heavy sanding on that, and I felt like it wasn't enough. So I did put another coat of epoxy on it, which made it nice and smooth, and it was perfect. So now I'm just showing you weeding the vinyl, and I'm putting black vinyl stripes in between each seam. And I decided to go with cheetah print, and I decided to use brushed vinyl. And I'm staggering the color. So I'm doing the silver on the gold, and then I'm going to do the gold on the rose gold, and then I'm going to do the rose gold on the silver. And so I am doing this using the hinge method again. And this is supposed to be, this is a seamless pattern that I had. And like when I got to the end of doing this, I actually pulled back the pieces and then placed them. So you'll see like a little bit of a seam, but because it's brushed vinyl, it's gonna blend. So you're not really gonna notice. And it's hard to explain how you do this. That's why, you know, visual is so great when you're trying to explain how to do something. So I put the one side down, and then I peeled back, and then I started to peel back the transfer tape, and then you can see that I pulled up the pieces that were supposed to line up because I didn't line them up perfectly, and then was able to place them back down. And you can do that with this because it's the leopard spots or cheetah spots, whatever you want to call them, and then you can just line them up. So I, you know, showed you, you know, in kind of like sped up, but not real time, but not like hyper speed. Now I'm going to hyper speed it to show you because it's pretty much the same thing. Putting on the gold now with in the center portion, and again doing the hinge method, you know, measuring it up like that. And I cut that off. I didn't want too much because it was too much for the first time around, so it like got in the way of each other. So I'm just applying this vinyl, and guys, I really like how this came out. This is like really cool to me. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it was really cool. So the brushed vinyl is really pretty. So after I got that vinyl on, I am ready to put I'm putting a layer of quick coat on here. And then after 2 hours, I'm going to put my final coat of epoxy. But I won't have enough time to put my final coat of epoxy on because I am editing this video and it is curing right now. And I have to post this video tomorrow. So I'm going to show you with just the one coat of quick coat. And, you know, because after that, I'm probably going to have to do like a light sanding. I did use 20 mLs of epoxy, so I might get really good coverage over this, but because I'm using the quick coat, you know, that's not a final coat. So I will go over with one coat, but, you know, I'm applying I did not seal this either. I just want to tell you, I did not seal the vinyl. So here I am popping all the bubbles, and then I'll be back with my final remarks, guys. All right, this cup is not done, but almost done. So I'm just loving the sparkle on this. This is insane. So I do want to give it a light sanding, and then I'm going to go over it with my regular set epoxy because this is a quick set. It's not supposed to be a final coat. Although CC DIY, that's what I'm using for my quick coat. I got to look into it. I don't know. Do you guys know if it's a final coat? I don't think it is. So, and I don't know at the moment, and I don't have time to research it. So I'm going to do a final coat tomorrow because it's getting late and I have to finish this video. So I am really happy with how it turned out. And I just want to say that, you know, working with chunky glitter, you know, is kind of a pain in the butt, but it's, you know, it's worth it in the end because, you know, it really does give such a great sparkle. And this GMI gold, rose gold, and silver is so super pretty. So you should really, really have this in your collection. Check out the description box down below for a link to Glitter Makes It and my discount code if you want to pick up some of this. And each one of these chunkies do have a fine version of the chunky. So you can find them in the perfect pairs section, which makes it really, really easy. So guys, that is it for this tutorial and working with chunky glitter. And thank you all for watching. As always, please make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment. I love to hear your feedback. And I will see you all next time. Bye.